the initial bunch of songs that I sent, obviously, you know, I was knowing that they were going to be hopefully used as B-sides, in my opinion anyway, as Smith's singles. Obviously, they were written very much in the kind of Smith's kind of mode. Having said that, Every Day's Like Sunday was on one of my original tapes that I sent him, and that dated from about 2-3 years previously. I mean, my inspiration for that one really was kind of the bass line was very much like an Echo and the Bunnymen type bass line. So I sent him a whole hodgepodge of songs, but obviously there were some, like Suedehead, where I kind of wrote distinctly trying to fit the mould, as it were, of the Smiths. Why not? I mean, you know, obviously, it's no point putting out a reggae album with Morrissey singing on it. No one's going to, you know, it's not going to work. So, you know, the case was, yeah, obviously I was writing to try and follow as much as I could in the footsteps of the kind of material that Johnny provided for him. Having said that, halfway through the album, Morrissey would say, well, I'd like a song to be a bit like this or a bit like that. I remember him saying he wanted a song that was a bit like a Joni Mitchell type song, you know, sort of very long, rambling, acoustic kind of chord sequence. And I went away and I wrote what became like Late Night Maudlin Street, which was distinctly different from anything that the Smiths had done. So, you know, it basically was he would ask if he, you know, and I would try and, you know, please in some way, you know, try and come up with the goods. That was the point. It's funny actually thinking back on Suedehead. It was a song that I wrote around a bass line, and the bass line is very Andy Rourke-like. It is, I admit. You know, it's got that kind of springiness to it and melodic. It jumps around a bit. You know, it's not just playing a root note vibe. And that song was written after I sent my original tape in to Morrissey, and he said yes, he wanted to, you know, do an album. Then obviously I went back home and wrote some more songs, and Suedehead was one of those songs that I wrote in that period between him saying he wanted to do an album and actually starting the album. We did. I remember recording it and thinking musically it sounded, you know, it was sounding really promising even before I put a vocal on. But once I heard a guide vocal that he put down for it, I thought this is great. So it was one of the first songs we recorded on the session. I think we went in the studio October of that year, and in that first week session we did do Suedehead, and I knew once we tracked that and I heard his vocal go on properly, you know, onto the track, I just thought this is it. We've got a really good hit here, and it gave me a lot of confidence to, you know, to obviously carry on writing and keep providing me with more and more material. And we took a break, as I say, halfway through, and I wrote some more songs, tracks like Late Night Maudlin Street and so on. Yeah, I was really keen to kind of like, you know, throw open, you know, try different things. I mean, Alsatian Cousin, again, that was written around a bass line that was kind of like my take on White Lines Don't Do It, like da-dun, 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 you know, that kind of thing. It was just, I just was really keen to kind of throw a few things at him and see what he made of it. I was very surprised. I sent another song to him, which I thought was kind of slightly funky, Break Up the Family, it became. And again, you know, it had this kind of drum machine loop thing and a kind of quite a funkish bass line. I thought, well, I'll send it and just see, you know, if he likes it. And as it turned out, it turned out to a great song, you know, and we used it on the album. So I was quite keen to try and break the mould, and I think he was too. To give the guy credit, you know, he knew, you know, he could kind of sing songs like Suedehead till the cows come home, but the idea was to try and, you know, stretch it a little bit. Often you'd be writing something and you think, okay, well, that's the intro part and there's the verse and he's going to start singing here and then there's a bridge and that's going to be the chorus. And then you get in the studio and you get to the verse part where you think he's going to sing and he doesn't sing anything. And you're thinking, okay. And then when the bridge comes, he starts singing. So he says, actually, that bridge part, can that be longer because I haven't got enough of those chords to sing, you know, what you thought was going to be the verse, you know. So you're kind of like thinking, okay, so what was going to be just an 8-bar bridge now has to become a 16-bar verse. And so you're constantly moving things around but that made it exciting, you know. It made you kind of, you know, kept you on your toes, as it were. So the main thing was when you're supplying a song to him, wasn't it, you couldn't just send a kind of cassette of you playing an acoustic guitar with the chord sequence. You'd have to kind of come up and conjure a backing track, as it were, that had a vibe, so it would give him the inspiration to do something in a particular way. As I say, you know, every time I sent him kind of demos for the first album, they were complete with bass lines, you know, hook, the drum pattern that I wanted, the kind of guitar sound and so on, so that it had to inspire him, Because if you sent him something that didn't inspire him, it wouldn't get used. So you had to kind of make sure gave him something that he could latch on to and think, okay, that's good. And as I say, once he's done that, I'm not saying he's going to sing where you think the verse is going to be. It might end up being he'll sing a chorus over that and sing a verse over the bridge, but still, you've got to give him enough to latch onto. Well, you know, I mean, the only reason why Vinnie Riley was invited on the first album was because I'd worked with him on the Juicy Column record, and I knew I needed a good lead guitarist, as it were, to come in and you know, supply some kind of good guitar playing on top of my basic kind of guitar playing. But this claim that's been made in the press recently about him writing the songs is complete nonsense. The songs that we recorded on Viva Hate were all sent to Morrissey in demo form by myself before we went in the studio. Either before we even started the session or subsequently throughout the session. And this claim came up once before, as I say, and I wanted to get it clear, and I actually invited Johnny Rogan, who wrote the Severed Alliance, around to my house so I could play in the demo tapes of my original demos to show that these songs were completely, you know, in shape, as it were, as songs before Vinnie Riley ever got in the studio. Vinnie kind of was a little bit snobbish about playing some of the songs because he felt, you know, C, F and A minor were a bit below him. And I was like, well, you know, that's what the song is. That's the chords. And that, in fact, was the chord sequence, for instance, for Every Day's Like Sunday. So I can't quite get the I can't quite see where his problem lies, to be honest with you. As I say, you know, I know that I wrote those songs, and I'm not going to stand for anyone claiming that they wrote them. You know, it's just nonsense. And if that was the case, why then did Morrissey continue working with me in '88, doing the subsequent songs that lost the famous International Playboys and all those other tracks that we recorded, and not Vinnie? You know, so it's just I'm just surprised that he actually has the audacity to put it in print that he wrote those songs. I just find it absolutely ridiculous. Like, for instance, Suedehead, there's that little bit in the middle section of Suedehead, a little middle 8 section, and Vinnie wouldn't play. He said, it's too simple, I'm not playing that. So I said, okay, I'll do it then. You know, and this was constantly this battle of like, well, it's complex enough, it's got to be more. And it's like, actually, no, you know, this is the song, this is the way it's going to be, you know. And you know, he made one claim that he wrote the strings for Angel, Angel, Down We Go Together, which is complete nonsense, because I wrote that song on a sampler, inspired very much by Hounds of Love by Kate Bush. That dum, da, da, dum, da, da, dum, right? Wrote it on a sampler, keyboard, sent it off the tape to John Metcalfe of the Duke String Quartet. He scored it, played it on the day, Morrissey sang on it, done. Vinnie Riley didn't play a note on it. Yet, in this piece in Mojo magazine recently, he says he wrote the strings for Angel, Angel, Down We Go Together. It's complete nonsense. I mean, the guy is talking complete rubbish. So, you know,
strange, isn't it?
As I say, and the proof is in the pudding, if he had written those songs, Morrissey would have continued working with him the following year and not me.